Are you a polyglot? A poly what? So, this question, this statement about being able to use multiple technologies, can I use multiple technologies? How do I showcase it? This often comes up from more senior developers. So this is where they'll put on their LinkedIn profile or their resume, software developer, and they don't define the technology because the argument is I can do anything. And as a developer, I've been in development for 20 something years. I appreciate that. I understand that. I've moved from different languages, different frameworks, front end to back end to full stack and all those kind of things. That's what you do as a developer. You're always jumping around because things are exciting and you want to change, you want to try new things. And that's the best thing about tech, right? It's always changing. So I get a lot of stick because I tend to tell people to focus. And that gets misconstrued and they think you can't say you do multiple things. You just have this one language or this one framework and that's you, set for life, you're done. And that's not the way I want you to think about it. So if you are a polyglot, then the burden of proof is on you. And I want to open this to that wider conversation about, you might have not, you can do anything, but you might have multiple languages. I can code in Python and Java, or maybe you can just jump between any object-oriented language. Maybe you're happy to jump from Angular to React to Vue, etc. It's all JavaScript underneath, after all. So how can you showcase this? My argument is it's up to you to prove you can do these things. So I often talk about on LinkedIn, because we always start with LinkedIn, the headline, the about section, the banner image as well, if you want to include that, is they're your claims. This is you looking forward to say, this is the job I want. These are the skills I want to work with. These are the skills that maybe I have already or I'm learning. This is how I want to be recognized and known so that people, when they arrive at your profile, go, oh, I know what you're about. But when they see these claims, these things you say you can do in the headline and the about section, for them to then invite you to an interview, it's about giving them enough evidence to make them feel confident about jumping into an interview. Because as I discussed throughout this course, that recruiter is going to have to sell you to somebody else. They're going to have to prove to their manager or their boss that they've done their job, that they've found a good person that matches this job specification. So the more evidence they've got to prove it, the more confident they feel. So they don't tend to jump into these interviews unless there's a good level of confidence about how suited you are to that job. So what I say is it's kind of like Googling for something. We've learnt that you have to, you might Google something very generic and you get too many results. So you start to filter and filter and filter until you get closer and closer to the result. And that's how recruitment works. So when you say software developer or programmer, and you're very generic, you don't define your tech stack, you have to wonder, is anyone searching for you? Now, the way this gets pushed back is, well, I can do anything and I've done lots of other things. And if you actually just spent time in an interview with me, you'd see I'm great. And I always say, but I can't, I've only got maybe 10 interview slots for this in its entirety, this job. And if maybe we've got 1,000 applicants, I can't even give everyone one interview. So very few of you are actually getting an interview. So who would you jump into that interview with? You jump in with somebody who seems to be a really good fit. You pick the best fit and go with that person. That's your safest bet. And if your salary, if your reputation in your job as a recruiter depended on it, you would do the same. So if you have multiple technologies, so you say I can code in Python and Java, what I would say is if you then apply for a Python job and I can't see you've used Python in your experience, I can't see you talking about Python in your activity, I go across to your supporting evidence on GitHub or wherever it may be, and you don't have GitHub repositories in Python, if I'm on your personal website, that's not written in Python, you don't even mention Python there, all these factors go together to make me feel very nervous. And I just think, I'm not saying no to you right now, I'm just going to interview somebody else who looks like a better fit, someone who's making it easier for me. Because if I jump into that interview with you because you say, look, just trust me, I'm great, and I get into this interview and I say, okay, what have you done with Python? You say, oh, I haven't actually touched Python in 10 years. I've been all about some other language since. Then I know I can't sell you to that person, even though you might have the skills. And like I say, I believe you can do it, but it becomes a difficult product to sell. Much like if you put a car in on a forecourt and say the car's been sat there for 10 years, people are going to wonder, does it still run? Does it? What's the condition of this? Unless it's been maintained and used and those sorts of things, it's a hard sell. It's got nothing to do with whether the car is good or bad, or was good or bad. So this has got nothing to do with your skill set. And when I say you need to focus, what I mean is you can have multiple technologies, but you need to focus on selling those technologies. So if you just say, I can do anything, it's rare that people are going to believe you enough to be able to present you to their boss. When their boss says, okay, why are you sending me this person? You say, they just said to believe them, and I'm going to give them a chance. Would you take that leap for somebody else that you've never met before? It's unlikely. So being a polyglot is okay, but you have to learn to present you're a polyglot. So if you're saying, I can code in 5 different languages, where's the evidence of you using those 5 different tools? And if you can't provide, and they don't all have to be professional experience. You could have all your professional experience in Java, all your side projects are in Python, your website's written in Node, etc. As long as we can see you using all these things, then it becomes real. But if you just say, well, I can do anything, that's a big leap for somebody else to take. So what we're trying to do in all of this is to make the person reading your profile feel confident about putting you forward to the next stage. So if you want to be a polyglot, if you want to have multiple technologies, you need to learn to sell it. I hope that makes sense. And I hope I don't get so much stick about trying to tell people to focus. It's not about focusing and saying eliminate all the other technologies. It's about focusing on saying anything you claim you can do, you're going to have to sell. I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.